Yakaya yoxatini takat yohan. Wasachtu yake wuchin khasati. Yak. Shukwayach twasaku. Ya akhkani. Khakrawusi. Cheatwu. Masa iyatee.
Masa ʼatudli. Ja, masa.
Yake kha. Masa ya nanéin.
Duda ja kushuwaske masa ja nanéin Dlit da kusitan zu kunach kusi at zu Dlit Héen gan kakwichak chatlak owe ach kusti owe de owe kashke masa iyatee.
Yak gonna choose at wasacha uti.
Okay. Masa ya at nanéin iyatee.
Iyatee. Iyatee. Talk na ali. Yechat na u. Ka ice cleats. Yechat na u. Yewa. Ut.
Fish.
Juan Klein achuli. Wasa iyatee. Wasa iyatee ayaki. Juan Klein.
Gonna chase kashka. Yeke satini. Yeke yersatini at so today. Achskun want yeke gonna cheese e question. Tlatwasa chat te ka busy way funeral tuwuyanik we kachchanak we young yiska atwuna yiska we us fell on him. Funeral guests are still here. Columbus, Georgia, Fort, blah, 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 Army, where Nehte came home for the funeral. I don't know how to say that, but gonna cheese achetians achewa nuch to say. I'm gonna teach achetians ache, so I'm really happy to say it. Was I'm gonna cheese wasa ya at ye nanéin. What's up with you? I guess. Gotta chase. Wooch away. Oh. Yuck. Charakait. Tlil kagwantan. Wasa iyatee.
Wasa ʼatudli.átk qua. Ach Sledek, the back of my neck. Kunach Yanik. Ka Ach Slak each. Tsa, the back of my head. Shiate ka. Kusiat. Kusiat. Kwasye. Dech ka degrees. Oh wait, plech ka degrees. I put salt on sidewalk and driveway. Yeah. Ach. Ha hidi plank. Iti nachje eight. Eight iti nachjati. Achwe. Slash. No slip and falls. Slash. Tenants slip and fall. That's all I got. Gunas cheese. Ach eight is achi. Yana eight. Wasa iyatee yayagi.
Gunas cheese shamagate. Hat tresh wasa. Kash yak e. Zatikahini kusi at.
What's happening?
Wasaya nanéin.
Did you ask me?
Yeah, let me see if I can ask it.
Wasaya nanéin ʼin.
Ya wasa ya nanéin ʼin.
Yidat 2024 calendar. Kukwahit. Way computer. Pizza. Thinkert nach was achtuasigu way thinkert nach washahit. Kua way computer program chesh back X ka back K back X. Ishan Yidat Holland Kaushahit way support. Audigan kua so achtuasigu. Oh ka yis douche. Hidi. Where do a agent booth nach shelter Quash, Yeast, Sayi. We'll think of a new name probably, but Herwasaku. Yesh Kagu, Wasasiati.
What woody wet?
Aw,
Ya yagi ach awe ye jikhane atlain.
Wasaya at nanéin. Nanéin. Well, I can't even read it. Nanéin ʼi'in.
Ya yagi ye jikhane ka
Housework.
yesterday Cindy sit ha
Sit iagut away.
katleg ha ach een ha yeet plural de
Ah.
oh de ka atlain audigan
Yeah, away.
ya yagi ka yesterday
Tatke.
tatge ka tatge klech kwasaku
Woodlive wait. Yeah, you woodlive wait. Gunnars cheese. Kdain she kdain sheerskin.
kujak wasa ituati
Wasa gunnartíis.
wasa ya at nanéin iin
Ka screen share ach yís Janae
Clom. Tlach toash go iyatee.
was a cook.
Wait, conversations, Jacques? Okay.
Yeah, but what's away?
Ade chydne Herwasaku das o iyatee. Tlach toash go Kayaaní that guk hawakshi kenas newe iyajini.
I don't know how to get out of this.
Can you just hit screen share? Does it work?
Well, yes, but it says you cannot start screen sharing while collaborating on a whiteboard, which I don't do that. Okay.
All right, Gook.
Iyatee.
Yay, shikuzi. Mhm.
You echa gun cheese klein.
Kashuk. What's this iyatee?
Gunnel cheese jack yakayach satini. Ach tu yake gunnel cheese.
Wasaya at nanéin.
Tatge ak talk sit cross country skiing de quagut ka yidat hun daka hidi de quagut rainbow foods you do a sa gunnel cheese. Yeh tuch tla wasa iyatee.
Gwnultis caniwws tlallmasa chatu te ku ach fillingy ach lakat dark woodzigit at wait yik sigenk I Wooch ach tu tlallmasa ku gwnultis
Cheese wasa ya at nanéin iyatee.
Nesgiadgi dunode kukwatin ach ka yak tlen yik hidi yidat hat kul yachyati klikat yede gunultis ach ke insa ach gunultis skaidu mas iyatee
Yayi dat klachega yejene ajida ʼatudli.
gunultis masaya at nanéin iin yidat
Finals Héen finals nechi dau aya.
gunultis skaidu
Gynulleidfa anawus. Adusa we ETA.
It ho ja du sa tuasaku tlell chad Wooch Elias, Wutsaqa, Kayat Takich, Nawea, Shawat Klenk, Chachat, Kijini Uyech.
Nawea Masa iyatee.
Chutjik Yegogank away Chut Woody Chwet. Yeah.
Masa ye nanéin.
Wednesday, Florida Day, Kukwateen, Nusk Yagi Kanach, Ye Kukwati, training, yes, Yejane, yes. Yeah. But you that again?
Eat Koha.
Gwas Suyanika Adusa, plus Woos.
Kelchit Woos, that Elias, Wutsaqa, Kayut Takich, Shawat Klenk.
Iyatee Fatsin.
Oh, you just seen Jadechat.
How about Yedisitzin Masa iyatee.
Tlis masa chat ute gunnish.
I don't know how you. I can't remember how you said this, but wasat nanéin.
Gwas tauk chayu gugank tauk slachwet masa duasauk. I'm a little weary of winter. Tauk.
Dachat with the Chet.
At chat with the wet. Oh, okay. Good cheese. Just kudach late dog gusitan ka achoe huakwen ka gun ka huachak ka gun ka hut ka no kachli hut Chef masa koa gunnish gunnish ach in za achi Wutsaga wa ekwa masa iyatee.
Gunnish ʼatudli.átk Fairbanks iyatee this morning Kukwateen, the Fairbanks Kukwateen. Elias, what's that iyatee?
Okay. Finish cheese.
Wasaya.
Ach, dus, dit was a go to say hi.
Okay.
Malka Yudosak. Kusiat away.
Usk.
Forest service jobs, too. Yeah, wait, goodness, cheese.
Oh, I do so yeah. Kayet to cage, show what tank.
Hey, my Cosatini. Klauske. Ada Yehiki Aquahas de Hooks. Ach, Aquasech, Nandako Hidi.
Oh. Okay. Wasayat nanéin. Okay. Show what tank it was ago. ʼatudli. Wasa iyatee.
Wat with the what? So,
You go a Juan. Wasayat nanéin.
where who's what done accidentally away.
Ishi.
Where he aware.
Oh.
What yeah, you that. Change.
Dacht she would nechi.
Doe je Janneke?
Dacht she would nechi. In kakonik del kakinacha it. Gwaslia je dat getganawus. Was a get.
Was iyatee nee.
Jago ging getakau de hit. Ja, je dat. Ade aya. Kudus a tea ya achu a. Ja, lingit kaha inchsati a. Katel gdena ya chwata. Gwas naskegi ganach. Ja, ach ish. Tlach ish ach hunch. Ach ish. Tlach in chusti. Ach hunch a. Hat kuwatin. Achawe aya. De kudziti. Du kayagi awe. Yo tu sahih. Ke jinjin kat tak awe. Yawat lak. Aka dasa awe du jit. Awaticho a achit. Chut nigu. Atlen chut nigu. Kushuknach away ha hiti yi wuti. Ya kat ka akshat ka hayetki. Akhunch ka duyetki. Dachadushu a. Hastu chut ayakunach wunig. We sandik ak kanach. Atlen stekat ye de wutle ku. Atlen wutle ku. Has aya. Has hiti. Ya ida telwasa ha oti. Decha. Wasa atnanin achin. Kwasi just I deka kwanik. Kate yedi aya ha hiti yeti dat Kayaaní Kate lawe konach usk tlach konach usk. Stakatat qad to wasagu awa yik. Konach awe stakatat atuk. Til kahits. Jin. Khus. Qunachawe ka qusquntl awataki. Ka qusquntl awataki aya wekate. Yak Dísi, you do a sock hoa ya akshat Kately aya. Dech haji wu Kate, take a douche, dech guinea gishu. Galkiwe you do a sockling get renach guinea gishu. Ha hit ye gayati. Yas khana shit kade aya haskakotin ya ach hunch kadu yit kadu sik has. Wasa ach tu yek wuchin khawustin. Ya yidat dus atlein yejene kanachawe kadu chak ya ach jis atlein yak yish kalni kadate has jiwene we aku yetki. You do a sock aku yetki society. Ye away akawe dati jikone. Ya ka hade atlein khu hade haskakwatin ashkult eta yes aka away we yis yu khatangach to well kash yis at yu khatangach to saku khosaku ashkult eta da ka nakqitach yata ya yegi ashkult eta hasaku wukhsati yake Gulchish ach sa achil te kat Johan gulchish Wooching you ʼatudli.átk ach tu yek dad ye awa. Yeke?
Ne.
Okay.
Ach yitk shaka duhuni wana ya yakye sik disi pleka kadech we as a gitcht hachchanak tu yanik has awati hatsa ach tu yanik
Gulchish ha'im ki negi. Yigo ayachwan te katwe shkat kwan. Kesha toa oshku ya ha khunki ya ha yetki haste khunki ha nakhaswu adi. Wan qanins ko aqaqti usane. Atlein atawa ha katwu zikit. Achchawe ha yuqatangi qutziti ko nak yachyati. Hatu nagu sak aya ka yuqatangi. Ye awa achtuasagu isaku yin khasati te katuhan. Ya yidata ya yantunak. Ya Johan qaqanakhwe yid. Khosaku dat yakhsawe ya gwalhachuni. Hanaqwugud ya just yis qa yakh. Aqad tlehuchaya hatu qusti du tasegu. Wan qanins ye natij ya tlingitane ka. Aqwaq tu ye wujin khasati qa wujin yuqatul.átk. Ya adatawe yuqaqtutla adata tinersa qayati. We qanana wudat. Yigo ayakhwan.
Gunalchish
Quinslain.
Gunalchish yeah yike yeltuchla
Hateach yin city. Yigoyach Kwan.
Okay. Ishan.
Ishan.
Gunalchish la Katyahan Gunalchish.
Any thoughts, questions, reflections on our conversation? Gulchish everybody for participating.
Yoke Kesh duguk. Kenisk. Ziusk. Kunach.
Ziskoga? Okay. Good sheesh. Well, there's a verb, wune, for something to happen. Wasa atwune. When you change it to at, I guess maybe we'll make a few notes here. Hold on. Get some things open from the last class. Don't hang these up. Okay. So we'll take a look at this verb and some things that can happen. I was trying to do like a whiteboard thing. I just thought I'd see what would happen. It took over the whole screen, but maybe I'll mess around with it and see if that's effective. Because then we can all take notes at the same time, which might be cool, might not be. I don't know. Okay, so anyways, I first heard this phrase from Kayaaní Besikuli when she went to visit Nora Dauenhauer. And I really liked it. I thought it was a really neat thing to say to someone. So I wanted to find out a way to incorporate it into what we're doing here. And so I guess we'd start with wune. So wune is for something to happen, basically. And so you can have an object in there. And so you could say ye khat wune, which would be it happened to me. And it usually has a bit of a negative connotation, like you'd say like something happened to me. And then if you change it to at, which is the fourth person non-human, you get something happened, right? And so then you get it happened to me, and then if you had yewune, you would just say it happened, right? So then from here you can have a question like Wasa atwune, what happened, right? Which is a good conversational piece, right? So I might say, that ku'ik was really crazy. You say, oh, wasa atwune, what happened, right? Or you might say, I'm feeling troubled and anxious. Wasa atwune, what happened, right? And so it's a good thing to ask, right? And so you could also say wasa iwune, which would be what happened to you. So this would be probably particularly fitting if someone was telling you that they're having a hard time, they're sad, they're angry, there was some kind of emotional thing that felt like it needed to be talked through. And then you could say, you can turn and say wa sa ya at nanéin iyatee. What is happening with you? So it's a pretty cool and kind of a casual phrase, like, what's up with you? What's happening? Right? That kind of thing. And so in the context of a conversation, it could be like, what's new and good? What's happening? What's going on with you? And I think context gives us a lot, just like with English. If I said, what's up with you? Right? If we just were good friends and we haven't seen each other for a little while, that's not a necessarily invasive thing. But if I see you doing something and I don't like it, I'd be like, what's up with you? What you doing? Why you being that way? Right? And so then that gets kind of invasive. But these are just kind of fun phrases to just learn how to throw around a little bit. And you have, and then you could get into ye khat yisene would be you did it to me. And so, and it kind of depends. Like if I just said that out of the blue, someone would be like, uh-oh, they messed around with him, you know. And so it is a thing, I think, that has a bit of a negative sort of meaning associated with it unless you sort of specify what's going on. Yeah, ʼatudli.átk is I was surprised or I was excited. And then I've also heard ʼatudli, which was like I can't remember how they translated that, but I'd hear Florent Kakashat and Nakashan say that quite a bit. Okay. Anything else? Thoughts? Questions?
Since you were on that verb, can you gloss it out? I mean, like, it obviously it doesn't inherently have an object or subject.
It has an object.
It has an object. Okay. So, ʼatudli.
But when you get to ʼatudli, because it changes to the fourth person non-human something, it just becomes like something happened, right? So then it's like, how, name, it is something is happening with you. And so in that case, it's not a negative thing. It's just like, what's happening, right? Just like if you were to say that in English, what's happening with you? You're just sort of trying to see like, what's going on.
Well, so how would you use it with like the future? I'm gonna make it happen or something like that?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. So you could say, well, now we're getting into something's gonna happen. But then, we don't know. Although that's the phrase I used in English a lot right before I proposed to my wife. I just kept singing. I was like, something's gonna happen. She's like, shut up and do the thing. So. But if you could also say it is going to happen, right? So the big thing here is like we get into some of these things in English where we say if there's we get into some of these things where like if there's an object there, then we're naming a specific thing, right? So if I'm saying it's going to happen, we probably know what it is, right? Like, for example, maybe we've been waiting for this ku'ik for a particular person. And say, oh, it's going to happen. ʼatudli sounds a little mysterious, like something's going to happen, right? But then if there's an S classifier version of this verb, but then this has a different meaning now. If we say ye kwasane, that means I'm going to do it or I'm going to fix it. And then, so this is the wune verb, right? So this is the ne verb has quite a few different ways to move around, right? The wune and the ausane are two variations of a very similar verb. One is for something to happen and one is for someone to do it, right? And so, and this is where you can get ge nasne de, do it already, right? Ge nasne, do it. And this do it verb is it's used for so many different things, right? So if you said ye nasne, I could say itika ye nasne, and my kid would throw a fit and then go clean their room, right? And so it just means to do the thing. It literally just means do it. But if I could say, I'll say, do the dishes, right? And so just like in English, when you say do the thing, right? And so there's different ways you can use this to command people to do things because they already know what the thing is usually, right? And so then you could change them to, so we had this wune verb, but then you can have, if you put yun in front of it, now you get yun uwane, right? So it changes from na conjugation to 0, but still the same verb root. So now you get yun uwane, which is it is ready. And this one also has a subject, right? So you could say Yen chatuane. And what would that translate to?
I'm ready.
I'm ready, right? Yen iwane, and then we get yen ge iwane, yen ge iwane. Are you ready? Are you all ready? Yen inede. Get yourself ready. It's probably yen inede. I think that's how I heard it. Yen inede.
Because I was looking at Shawu's verb database,
Mhm.
and it's under nay, the root, right? And then it's just says yay at zero classifier nay. And then she just tells us a third person singular. I'm just having a hard time seeing where the object and the subject and all that stuff. It's not transitive, right?
Yeah, well, so this is one where you do have, let me find them. So I think the thing here is you don't have, well here, so they're just a little bit out of order, right? So here's a object 0 nay.
Okay.
Right? So this is for something to happen to the object. So you'd say ye nanéin, ye nanéin, ye nanéin. But this is like something is happening to you, right? And if we just said this, I think people would assume something bad has happened. It really happened to me. And people are like, oh no. But it could be a good thing, right? And then you get and then you have an object that you can switch here. Kashuk, did you have a question related to this or a thought?
I was wondering about, are you ready? Would it be Yan Iwane? Ge? Yan Iwane ge?
And ge iwane.
Yan ge Iwane. Goodness, cheesh.
And so this is one of, so with verbs, sometimes there's different ways to sort of block the object. And with some verbs, when we block the object, we create different meaning. For example, you can say, I'm sewing a shirt. Kudas khaqis. But if someone's like, what are you doing? I'm sewing khadaqis. So that one, the object disappears and the classifier goes plus D. There's different verbs that do that, right? So you could say, akaushikit. They wrote it, a poem, they drew a picture, they wrote something or drew something. But if I said they were writing, you'd say kaujihit. It does the same thing. Classifier goes plus D, kicks the object out of there. There's other verbs that lock up the object spot with the fourth person non-human at. For example, if I said cha, I'm saying eat it. There's some specific thing that I'm telling you to eat. But if you just said, just walk around saying, atcha, eat something. So the something creates this different meaning, right? So eat it is like, you eat that thing right there. Eat something is like, go, just eat something already. So this is another case that uses at. So if you have wune with an object, it happened to the object. But if you say atwune, something happened.
Goodness, sheesh. It's gonna take a while for this to sink in, but that's obviously a significant difference.
It is. And so for this one, like, so the at has special meaning, right? And so another case would be tatge khotana. I drank it yesterday. That's not really telling you anything, right? Like, I drank that orange juice yesterday, I drank whatever the thing is. But if I say tatge khonakhoe at khotana, that means yesterday I went out drinking alcohol, right? I was really just turn into a lush or whatever the thing is, right? So sometimes it does have special specific meaning. And in this case, it means something happened. Wasa atwune, what happened, right? And there's another whole other layer to this, because we can change ye to yun, and now we get a different thing. So now we get yun object, right? Oh wait, let's do one other step. So before we do that one, we could change the classifier to S and add a subject. Now something's not happening, someone is doing it, right? So then we get, and the default for all of these is fix it, but it's also just to do the thing or to cause it to happen, right? And this is where you can get things like, I did it to myself, I did it to you, you did it to me, right? Like there's a Raven story where he says, it's the women of the Kayaaní who do this to me all the time, right? And so it means they caused it to happen, right? And so if you're teasing, for example, if I, or if I had someone walk by and they bumped me and my coffee spilled, I could say, ha, you did that to me, right? And so that means you caused it to happen. But the nay verb root is really interesting because it can refer to so many different things. It just means for something to occur. But then for this, and so this is where you can get ye nasne, do it, go ahead. So this is the Nike verb. This is the, if we already know what the thing is, this is how you tell someone to just do the thing. Guk ye nasne. But then it's also to fix something, right? So now we've introduced causation. We've added a subject. You can have an object, you can have a subject. You can lock up the object with ut. I don't think you could really go ye ut chosane. I guess you could say I did something, right? But I don't know if people would use that very much. It doesn't seem to have a whole lot of use. But in the preverb, if you changed ye to yun, now you've got for something to be ready. So yun on its own as a preverb means to completion. So this is where you get yun uwane, and yun iwane would be eewaneei. Yun ge iwane, are you ready? Yun ge iwane, are you all ready? Yun gechat uwane, am I ready? Right? And so you could say yun ha uwane, we are ready. Yun chat uwane, I'm ready. Right? And so this is a lot of dance groups, they use this. A lot of times, like teachers will use this, and they expect their students to say, ah, yun ha uwane. Right? And so, and this is one when you have yun in the progressive imperfective in the future, it's going to go to yunde. It's going to go high-low. Just like tuch will do the same thing. Tuchde, right? And so now you can have yun, and then you can also change the classifier and add a subject. Does the same thing. So this would mean, so you could say, yun chwasane, I got it ready. I finished, it says finished it, but it means I got it ready. I prepared it, right? So for example, if someone came and like, oh man, all the knives are clean, the table's ready, I could just come here and cut fish. And if you wanted to make sure that everybody knew that this is your work, yen chosane, or you could say yen ausane, achat, my auntie fixed it up. Hajiyis for us.
I just ask you one more, Kane. So ye adane and ye ausane, they mean something slightly different, eh? But would you change the verb you're using depending on if it's perfective or imperfective, or would you, how would you go with that one?
Yeah, that's a good, so most speakers are going to switch to this dane when they're talking about like it's happening right now. But what's really interesting, like, so if we look at this one, we see an imperfective, we see a command form, and then we see a future, but the perfective is when people like to switch it to ye ausene. And so this one is really interesting. There seems to be something particular about this meaning. Like I see this one used a lot for like working on our foods and working on our, it seems to have a lot to do with like maybe cultural activities, but I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, because it's not one of those ones where it switches to this always in the imperfective. Because if you go back to the one with the S on it, which I think is down actually. So here's to fix it. And it says does not occur, ye adene preferred. But then I was getting translations from George Davis, and he said, Yahasa nasnein. They're fixing it up. And so he didn't switch it to this one, because he could have said, right here, yes adene, right? And so, but this is something where it probably needs a little bit more investigation, because then you also have, when do you use ye dachane, I'm working on it, and adat ye jechane, right? Which is, we're really getting into this. Our comb is getting very fine teeth, right? So here you can use a perfective for this. Ye jechane, I'm working. Adat ye jechane. My guess would be you'd use that when the act of working is the most important thing you're talking about. And the da part is when maybe the most important thing is what you're working on. But I don't know. That's just sort of that would be my intuitive guess on those. But yeah, I would say just look at when speakers are using them and how they're using them. Because some of the stuff that's in this database might have just been the preference of the speakers they were working with at the time. But it could be, it's probably just more complex than that too. Okay, those are good questions.
Ne,
Ah,
if you were saying to somebody, do it would be like that Nike one you just said, to just do it or do it.
Taanáx suggested ye nasne de.
Ye yasne de.
Ye nasne de. Do
Okay.
it already.
All right. Ye yasne de.
And
Because,
Renee,
hold on 1 second. Because so in English you would say just do it. And so what that's implying is, I think in English it's saying don't hesitate, do the thing. But you could say just ye nasne, but then you're saying only do that thing, is how it's sort of going to come across in Tlingit, which is why you can't always go for straight translations like word for word, because the concepts usually work different in the languages. So this is do it already. Kashu kwasa.
Sheesh. I was going to ask, is there an equivalent of like please to add to the imperative or command form to soften it a little bit, or is that me trying to do a weird translation thing?
I think that's something that comes from English. Like if you don't say please, you're being rude. But like
Right.
English, you have to add these words. It's sort of like excuse me has so many different meanings. Like what does that mean? It means like I'm near you, I'm reaching across you, I burped or farted, or I need to get past you. It has so many different meanings. And then please is sort of like, and like, I told my kids, like, if you speak Lingi, you don't have to say please. So, but it's really interesting too, because you can use kun sometimes. I've heard that used, which is like may you, but I would worry that it becomes a substitute for please, and we end up changing, because Tlingit, it's not always, I mean, shilkat is be careful with that command, but commands like hand me this, hand me that, there is a difference between like hade and like achjite, wedana, hand me that money, right? And so I think commands, but also like but there's a fine line here too, because when TPR was first being introduced in Tlingit territory, which is teaching through commands, like point at the light, point at the, point at your head. And the idea was to just use a lot of, it's a pretty smart thing because it says, whatever I do, you do. And then you just listen to what I say and I'm telling you to do the thing. But when we sat there with some speakers who watched us do this, they said, we don't talk like that. We don't just command people all the time. And so the other thing too is like, commands aren't part of everyday vocabulary. But then some of them are, like hand me this and hand me that. And, I guess if we were to open like the Tlingit coffee shop, we'd have to figure out some other things too. Like if you say, can I get this? Like in English, like it's so interesting too, because you're not really asking like, is it possible for me to acquire this? That's just how you're taught to be, because what's the alternative? I'll have or gimme, right? And so it's really interesting because English has to add words to become polite. But I think for Tlingit, I guess you could say ʼatudli.átk, kahwe klein, isha yachawe achkuchayi ʼatudli.átk kunachawe shanaitli tliti. I think that's how you'd say it. I want you to fill it to the brim.
That's cheese. And so like here in class, if you are explaining something to us and I would like you to write it, do I simply say kashachit? Or would I say, can you write it? What would be the most appropriate way for me to ask for that in class?
Kashachit. Just go right to the command. I say, okay, bossy, gee. I'm gonna teach you the way and give you a complex about it at the same time. Yeah, because I mean, you could say, like I was just talking to Taanáx today, and she says, if we try to like adjust everything too much, it starts to get really long. Right? Which is just kashahit. And like, I don't know, one time I said, because Juan is also a noun, right? And so when I was raising my kid, I dropped it because the one time I tried to use it. I was like, Achite, wait, Juan. She goes, I'm not a boot. So, but yeah, so if you just say kashahit, and I'll do it. Good questions. Okay. Anything else on your minds? It's good stuff. We're on break next week, so this is our last. We got 90 plus 20 minutes of hardcore learning, and we get 7 days off or whatever. Okay.
Talk a tea break. That's that.
Wursayis is like break time. It's for resting. So yeah, no hardcore assignments or anything over the break. Just but we'll come back. We'll try to I'll try to have a bit of more of a focus when we get back from break too. It's been
what are the dates for break?
All next week. Don't come here. Well, if you guys want to come hang out, I won't be here. I'm devoted to the cause, but I get a break too. Okay. Any other questions, thoughts? We're going to get back into our love verbs because we love verbs. Okay. Here's where we left off. Hayisachan, tuyisachan, atisachan. Y'all loved a bunch of people. So now we're going to go third person subject. So for the third person subject, what we're looking for is a singular they love a singular them.
Asachan.
Asachan. Yeah, 3 on 3. So this one, you have 3 different interpretations, which you have to figure out by context. They love them all. They all love them. They all love them all.
Has asikhan.
Yeah, oh, well, they love me.
Chat has asikhan.
Well, you can't have chasachan on there. That would be shchadzechan. I love myself.
Has
It's singular.
chat asikhan.
Chat.
Sechan.
Yeah, oh, chatzachan. Right. So then I am the object. That means we go straight to the subject, which is 0. This third person subject is always unmarked. Chatzachan. So now we should be able to get all these others pretty fast. They love us. Singular they.
Asikhan.
Hasachan. Yeah, oh, gulchish. They love you.
Isachan.
Yeah, oh, and how do we say you love them? A singular them?
Asachan.
Isachan. Yep. So this is another. So Tlingit has a number of things that are just like you gotta figure it out. You gotta add context there. To say they love you and you love them is said the exact same way. It's just what you get when you have the 0 and because it's on both sides. So the is the object, is the subject. In this case, 0 would be the object, 0 would be the subject. So Tlingit does have a couple of points that need to be clarified. Okay, they love you all.
Has asikhan.
Just a singular they, though. But the plural y'all.
Yisachan.
Yeah, away. Yisachan. They love people.
Ka sikhan.
We'll use k for this one because there's no weather. There should be love. Kusachan, right? So this one has si. If you switch it to sa, it's a noun for love. So the noun for love means love of people in Tlingit. Because this chan verb works best for people. You don't love ice cream. You don't love lamps. You don't love this movie. You just like those things in Tlingit. You love people. You can love your animals. They love something.
Atsachan.
Atsechan, right? And so this is one that probably doesn't have a lot of like actual use, but it's just here to show you it's a mechanical process of changing this object, right? We've locked in the subject to 0, changing the object. Now we're going to pluralize it, so there'll be a hus in front of every single one of these. And just remember, a hus is not an object, it comes before the object. They all love me.
Has chat sikhan.
Yeah, away. Haschat. So it always goes haschat, haschat, haschat. So if you ever have those plurals and that they're doing something to you or whatever the thing is, just remember that it goes outside of the object. Because I'll catch myself doing that still. I'll say chat haschat, right?
I think you said once, Hus is Neptune.
Yeah, there we go. Pluto is yay and ya and those types of things. Wooch. They all love us.
Hey, Lance, I got a question.
Okay.
Is there a difference here between they and they all?
Yes, they is a single person and they all is a plural. So we'll just keep using that because there's no gender there. So we don't have to say she. You could say she or he once you know who the person is. But as far as just how the language works, there's no gender built in there. That's why we switched it to they a couple years ago. They all love us.
Has sechan.
Ye'oah, has ha sechan. Right? So it's a 3-word verb. It happens sometimes. They all love you.
Has isachan.
Ye'oah. And there's that I attached to the verb. Always attached to the verb. Because it will cause contraction. Uh-oh, there's a blank. What's this? Who wrote that? It doesn't matter if it doesn't exist. Maybe it doesn't exist. I'm not going to talk. I don't know what that's for. I'm deleting it. Okay. Class from the past. Who knows what they were talking about? Okay, they all love people.
Has kusachan.
Has kusachan. They all love something.
Has ʼatudli.átk.
Ye'oah hasatzachan. Right? So at is an object pronoun. Okay, they or it, singular they, is loved. Or are loved? I don't know. They are loved, it is loved. What are we switching to now? We did first person singular, first person plural, second person singular, second person plural, third person singular, third person plural. There's only one subject left. Ah.
Isachan.
Yeah, but once we go duh, now the classifier has to change to z. So it has to go plus d because that duh will push all non-zero classifiers plus d.
Didzechan.
Ye'oah, ye'oah, didzachan. They all are loved.
Yidzachan? No.
No, it's gotta
No,
be.
never mind. That doesn't sound right.
Has sechan.
Didzachan, ye'oah. So the difference between they and they all, usually you put a has right in front of it, and then you've got it. I am loved.
ʼatudli.átk.
Ye'oah. You all should know that one. You're all loved people. This puppy loves you. It's crying for you. Didzachan. We are loved.
Hadudzachan.
Didzachan. You are loved.
Didzihan. Han.
Didzachan. Ye'oah. Okay. You all are loved.
Yidzachan.
Didzachan. People are loved.
Kusachan.
Kusachan would be the single third person loves people. So we got to keep the duh in there.
K'didzechan.
Didzachan. Ye'oah. Okay. And something is loved. Again, probably not a lot of use for this in terms of meaning, but just looking at how these things function. A'tudzachan. Ye'oah. Okay, we have completed the love verb.
No, there's one more.
Uh-oh.
How do you say there is loving going on?
The songwriter in here, Shanakate, needs to know.
Well, I guess you could say qusachan. Qusachan yanachich. I would probably say it's happening. Qusachan yanachich.
In a chich,
Yanachich
yeah, in a chich.
means it's happening. But there is, yeah. And then that's if you're writing like your groovy love songs. But then if you got to switch to like a country music or a blues song, you might have to. I think it is Woochgate. Hold on, I gotta get this one. Hold on. There was one for. Since we're in the love realm, we're gonna have to go to this one. Hold on. Let me go look at it. So I had to get this one for a story that someone was working on. And so for the loving to happen, that's pretty good. But then we do have a verb for this. You'd say shkashye ya has ayanashich. They are having an affair, fooling around. And so the context was someone told a story about two people that were messing around outside of a marriage, and then someone pushed a big rock over on both of them. And it's an old story, it goes back. And I said, and they asked me how to say it. And I said, I don't know, but I know who would know. Who do you think told me this one? He was my go-to.
Laura?
It's Kayaaní, George.
Sorry, I'm kidding.
Kashye, so shkashye means to lower yourself, right? So like the verb itself has to do with lowering, but like when you start saying shkashye, like they always lower themselves. That's something that's getting into some pretty scandalous territory as far as the way Tlingit looks at it. And then when you have this construction, which is basically a yausahih, it means to make something a public event, to make it into a thing. So it's like there's a lot going on in this particular. But this again, this is for your. This is the breakup song. But if you want to have the love, do the love song. Sometimes the breakup song's gotta happen. You know, when people for musicians, I'll just say the breakup album's usually better, but not always. But sometimes I don't know. Okay.
Bunny, what's the difference between like happening yawachich and kawaha?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. I'd probably have to look at them a little bit more. I think yanachich would be like seems to have a specificness to it, whereas kawaha would be like for something kind of came upon us or something. It seemed to have like an uncertain origin, I think. It's like it's just gonna start to happen. And then you'd say wasahakakawaha. That's how it happened to us. And it's usually some big tragedy, it seems to have a little bit more of a uncertain or troublesome origin. That's what it seems to me. But yeah, we can go dive through some examples, because then you get yawahi would be like now it's a public event, and then yausahi, it's a public event that people do. And this is the verb that Kayaaní was using. If we go into Kayaaní's speech, which maybe I'll try and remember. Wednesday. Let's start with Kayaaní. We were in Teslin, and he's such an interesting person, and I know his health isn't particularly great right now. So I think about him a lot, because we had this language gathering, and he was pretty quiet through the whole, he'll say a few things now and then. This was, gee, what, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, maybe? And he kept saying, I got something to say. I want you to record it. It's like, all right, let's do it. I got a sore throat. Next day, it's like, you want to do that recording? Oh, I got a stomach ache. Next day, you want to do that recording? I don't feel right. Finally, I think it was like almost the last day we were there. I said, well, okay, if you want to do it, we got to do it. But if you don't want to do it, this is okay. It's okay. He says, okay, but just you and me down by the lake. And we went, there was kind of bad lighting, and it was pretty short. It was only like 4 or 5 minutes. And I thought, well, but then when I went and transcribed it and translated, I was like, holy smokes. He was just dropping knowledge bombs down by the lake. So it was, we'll start class with that on Wednesday, because he says that, he says like, and he's using it as I think as a hortative to say like, let's bring it into the eyes of the public or something. It's really interesting, and so that'll get us deeper. I know we did Héen and Geet and Kawaha, and like it's really interesting in advanced Tlingit, I think, to look at these subtle differences, just like we did with Wune and Ausane and Yannawune, and to sort of look at how those things just have these subtle differences. Okay, good question. Good question. So there are, we won't go to, no, I'll tell you, this will be the last thing, is like when I was working on these love verbs with George, this was the origin point of trying to figure out these object-subject exercises. I was like, I gotta find a way to just move through all of the combinations. So I sat down with him, and I wrote out I just mapped them out. You know, I love you, I love them, I love, just trying to move through it like in this order. So I would say it, and I'd say it in English, he'd say it in Tlingit. And then I'll tell you, we'll end on 2 things. So the next verb is going to be this, I'll give you a sneak preview, is to hear a voice, right? So then I said, I heard them. And he didn't give me the verb that I was thinking about. What do you think? What verb do you think he gave me? For I heard them. It didn't end with ugh, I'll tell you that. Yeah, it was a verb to like herd cattle, to like, like a shepherd. And so I was like, wait, like to herd people, like, and so there is a verb for that. And so that was kind of a funny cross-linguistic moment. And then, but before I got to this herd verb, we did all this I love, you love, they love, people love. And then I wanted to get the negatives. So I said, I don't love you. And his wife's in the next room. She would listen to us all the time. And I just hear her go, Ishan! And so we will get to those negatives for like, I guess, the shkashye, has run the skins, and then comes the kesh sechan. But that's that for another day. Chish Johan, Yewushkach Tustin, Naskigi Khana.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Goodness cheese.
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 Tiagin.
Cheers.
Nanéin she tin daka kwan.
Juan Klein.
Ah.